Hello coaches, welcome back to another Modern Soccer Coach interview. Something a bit different this week and exciting. Last week I went for my first in-club Modern Soccer Coach visit. I went to FC Cincinnati, MLS club, and visited Richie Ryan. Richie went through the Sunderland Academy, played for Sunderland's first team, so he played professionally in England, Belgium, also in League of Ireland, and here in the US, played for a few years before he retired. He recently took a role at FC Cincinnati's academy, so I wanted to go up and talk to him about his playing journey, how it merged into his coaching philosophy, and find a little bit more out about development structure and pathways and processes in MLS academies, particularly at FC Cincinnati. A brilliant club, some top people there, and a massive thank you everyone there for letting me come in, and a massive thank you to Richie, of course, for giving me his time and his insight as well. Really enjoyed the visit. I hope you enjoy the interview. Thank you so much for the support. Please, before we start, please like, please subscribe. Okay, trip to Cincinnati, let's go. All right, just got to the training ground now. $23 million, built in 2018. Where do you see this? Top class. Boom. Pitches are there in the background. Excited to go in, watch a bit of training, chat to Richie. I'll hopefully borrow a jumper or a coat from him because it's way colder than I thought it was going to be. Here we go. Session time now. I've got a sweater, ready to watch a bit of training. What a great place, great facility, beautiful pitches. Everyone's working hard, great to see. I'm sure I'll get a few messages about, hey, show us the session, why didn't you show us the session? But when I go in and observe coaches, I try not to impede too much sessions and the ball moving and training and videoing players. I don't feel too comfortable doing. People are kind enough to share their views and their opinions and their insights and all that great stuff. So I don't show you the training, but after the training we've got the interview with Richie, and here we go. Richie, thanks so much for joining me. Modern Soccer Coach on location. Excited to chat.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks for having me, Gary.
We had a brief chat there about your journey and your development, and again, I'm fascinated with the Sunderland piece about going over there, and we talk a lot about character development today. Going over there at 16, 17, how much do you think you were suited to travelling at that age, or how much was it a real challenge with homesickness?
Yeah, it was. It was a big challenge at the beginning. Homesickness. Obviously, the first 2 months were really tough. Obviously, moving away from family, from friends, definitely wasn't ready for it. But it was a sacrifice that I needed to make because my dream was to go and play soccer. So the first 2 months probably spent a few nights shedding a tear or two before going to sleep. But then over time, being surrounded by teammates, surrounded by the club, people at the club helping you, and you realise that if you want to achieve something, then you've got to make some sacrifices along the way.
Yeah, you were thrown into the deep end at a I couldn't believe this when I was listening to the interview, but like just out of nowhere you were starting in one of the biggest derbies in the world.
Yeah, I came on. We played on the Thursday night for the reserves.
Right.
And I came on at half time for the reserves on the Thursday night against Liverpool. And Mick McCarthy was at the game, and the following day we trained with the 19s, and the reserve team coach came into the changing room after the game and asked me what my plans were for the weekend. I said I was flying back to Ireland because I was supposed to fly back on the Friday night, see my family, and then we had an awards ceremony with the FAI on the Sunday. And he said, no, you're not flying back, which I was like, no, I am. Flights are booked. And he said, no, you have to come across to the first team side of the training ground. Mick wants to speak to you. And then as we were walking across, he said, you're in the squad tomorrow for the Newcastle game, which my heart started racing pretty quickly. But I think it was a good thing that I didn't know until the Friday afternoon, because I didn't have I didn't have time to think about it. And then Mick said, he asked me if I had a suit. I said I hadn't. And he said, you better get yourself into town and grab yourself a suit, because you need to look smart for tomorrow afternoon. So that was it, and we arrived the following day, and I was on the bench, and the game was going ahead. We were losing 1-0, and I think it was like 73rd minute or something, and he said, come on, get yourself ready. I was like, yeah, let's go. And then, yeah, we unfortunately we didn't get anything out of the game, but great experience to play in such a big game. And
who would have been in that midfield? Jermaine Genius?
Jermaine Genius and Kieran Dyer.
Right.
Yeah. Shearer, Bellamy.
Yeah. That's a decent Newcastle team, wasn't it?
Good
Is
Newcastle
that Bobby
team.
Robson's team?
Bobby Robson's team, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Laurent Robert, I think,
yeah.
on the left.
Yeah.
Unbelievable left foot.
Wow. Like, one of the things I wanted to ask you was today that, and we had a brief chat about this before, today it's so pre-planned with IDPs, and they're going to go there, and then we predict that this player, or forecast that this player will then get into the first team squad and then do training for 6 months. But listening to people's journeys, I was telling you, I was reading Liam Brady's book, and it seems to be like there's always, you saying there that you didn't know, you played a Thursday night, you didn't know, and then Brady was same thing, didn't know. Roy Keane didn't know, you're told to go, and it's wrong from a planning point of view. Like, we'd love to have these things, but I wonder if that helps you long term to deal with the realities of football.
I think so. I think you can, same in any walk of life, you can try and pre-plan a lot of things, but how often do things go to plan? And I think especially in football, not many things go to plan. And you've got to be prepared for the unexpected, basically, and just embrace it and take on the challenge when it's brought to you, because you don't get many opportunities, I suppose.
Do you think if they had said, listen, 3 weeks, we'll put you in here, and well, how would you dealt with that?
I'd be nervous, Rick.
You know, loads of tickets anyway.
Yeah, well, I would have had a chance to get the family over for the game, then could have been prepared for it. But no, I think you have a lot of time to think then, and sometimes it's better not to have time to think and just get thrown in and just deal with it on the spot, because you know the mind is a funny place. You can do a lot of thinking, which puts more stress, more pressure on yourself, which might not have the best results at times.
You've got obviously those players, you've got the quality of opposition and the level, and I'm sure the speed of that game, but then you've also got this external crowd who, you know, when things are going well at Sunderland, it's the best place, but when things are bad, it's gotta be. Did you prepare for that? Was there any psychology element or?
No, not at all. Honestly, when I got on in that game, I could hear the crowd, but I couldn't make out the noise that was coming from the crowd. It was just a wave of noise as we moved up the field, as we moved back down the field. It was just a noise. And to be fair, the first team players that day, Michael Gray was the captain at the club, and when I was coming onto the field, he came over, shook my hand and wished me all the best, which sort of relaxed me a little bit. And then Jody Craddock fired the ball into me. And I was like, oh, this is the pace of it. And thankfully I didn't give it away. But I was like, okay, if you want to fit in, then this is how it's going to be.
And the next game was the Invincibles?
No, the next game, well, this partly what you're saying about having time to think. The next game, I was Aston Villa away. So Mick had spoke to me after the Newcastle game and was like, you're gonna be with us for the rest of the season, train with us every day. So it was brilliant. And the next week I was in the starting lineup quite a lot during the week. And then we used to do starters versus non-starters on the Friday morning, and I was in the starting team, and I have never had a training session as bad as this training session. I literally couldn't make a 5-yard pass. Oh. I was falling over myself because in my head I was at Villa Park at 3 o'clock on the Saturday and just trying to deal with that and starting and just overthinking things. So Mick pulled me after training and said, I was going to start you, but I think it's best you sit on the bench tomorrow. If you get on, you get on. So yeah, that was the worst training session of my life.
You wonder if he really had that. Was it a consequence of training, or do you think he was thinking about putting you in and out? And is there almost an art of coaching to that there, or do you think it was just as simple as?
Mick was really honest. It was one of the best things about Mick McCarthy, and I think he seen me in that training session and thought it's probably a little bit too soon, so we'll have him on the bench. And then the following week we played against Arsenal, and he put me on at half time. So it was like a little bit more than what I had in the Newcastle game. We were getting beaten by the Invincibles. So for him to throw me in against Arsenal was big vote of confidence for me, that he trusted me to go on and try and have an impact on the game. But yeah, I think he's seen before the Aston Villa game, I was probably not quite ready.
Who's in that Arsenal midfield? Vieira?
Vieira didn't play that day. Gilberto played, and Van Bronckhorst.
Oh, player Gilberto was.
Yeah, it's class. He was just walking through the motions. You just couldn't get near him. You tried to get near him, the ball was already gone. And I think that was the level of that team. That's my next question. Was what was the learnings, or do you remember what the learnings was from? That's the step up. That's the level. Is it quality of play? Is it athleticism? Decision making? The speed of play. Yeah. The speed of play. When Arsenal weren't pressing too intensely, because they were probably winning 2 or 3-0 at the time. But I remember when they got the ball back, the whole tempo of the game changed. And I was thinking, oh my, I'm not ready for this. I can't move as quick as these boys. I can't move the ball as quick as them. But that was the learning for me. Hello coaches, we'll take a quick break here. Thank you so much for all the support for the channel. We passed 45,000 subscribers a couple of weeks ago, and we're keep growing. 100,000 is the target, and we're getting closer and getting closer. But we promise that as we build the subscribers, we will keep new content coming, but we'll also look at adding little aspects of Modern Soccer Coach and improving them. Part of this has been addition of in-person interviews to go to clubs, find out a little bit more. So if you enjoy this type of content and you want more of this type of content, and you want us to keep building out more academy visits, more first team visits, more insights, more expertise, please continue to like, please share with your coaching community. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It means a lot that as we've grown it, we've got that support from the coaching community. It's massive for the podcast. It's massive for the channel. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Back to Richie. Alex Inglethorpe at Liverpool talks about the truths, football truths, and you know them because obviously you've lived them, about the ups and downs, the being left out of teams last minute. You get the nod from the manager and they explain to you. Sometimes they don't explain to you, the injuries, all these things that are normal from what I read. But when you're trying to teach that in an academy setting, how on earth, because they all build resilience, but how do you teach resilience at this younger age groups? I think it's probably one of the toughest things to teach. I'm still trying to figure out how you teach it. But every player wants to play. But the reality of it is not every player is going to play every game, and the sooner you can deal with the setbacks and use them as fuel to come back, I think the better for you as an individual. Football is definitely not going to be a pathway that's smooth. There's going to be setbacks along the way, through playing games, through not playing games, injuries and so on. I think you have to learn how to deal with them, and that's the part I'm still trying to figure out, especially with the younger groups. It's not easy for them not to play on the weekend, but you can use that as fuel to work harder during the week and try and improve in the areas that you need to improve. That will help you continue your development. It's fascinating for me because I see football as like, okay, it's changed and processes around development have changed, but the same issue at the top of a first team manager deciding whether or not you're ready
has not really changed in 30, 40, 50 years.
No.
So the player is still going to have, like you mentioned, playing time there is they're still going to have his ultimate goal. So to teach that, you're almost thinking, well, then would it be better to leave players out and put them in again? But that's not going to help them either.
No, that's why I'm still trying to figure it out.
Well, let me ask you this: was another way of, like, if we teach something, and maybe that's the wrong angle, but that's obviously the development lens of saying, okay, let's break down a challenge and see if we can get solutions. You're thinking, all right, well, if it's a psychology issue, do you bring in more support around that there? Have you seen that there, and or what's your experiences with that?
I think we're very fortunate now that we've got mental performance coach that works within the academy and with all the academy teams, and I think from when he started here to now we've seen a big difference, so hopefully it continues in that way. He connects with the players, which is really important, and it's really important for young players to know that they have that support around them, not only just from the coach but from the support staff around the coach as well. That's been a big help for all of us, and a big help for the players, most importantly.
What areas do they improve? What areas have you seen those growth areas?
Setbacks.
Right.
I think part of the mental performance coach's role and what he wants to work towards is having young players deal with setbacks, and how they deal with it, and the process behind the mental side of things. Like we said, it's not going to be smooth. You're not going to play every game, so how do you deal with that, and how do you use that to get better?
And then checking in with them, is that more of a communication just as they go through their journey, then seeing where they're getting maybe on the front side of who might be struggling?
Yeah,
getting there early.
He's out on the training field quite often, so I think that once the players see him out there, they know that he's there for them, and then he's able to just check in with whoever he feels needs checking in with, and then they have a team class with him every 2 weeks, so you get to gauge off them as the team, and then as individuals as well.
There's a psychologist at Brentford,
okay,
and he talks a lot about he doesn't have an office, he walks around. So they have those informal conversations.
I think that's important because it makes the players feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
I think we're all comfortable being on the training field, and like you said, if you go into an office, it sort of feels like it's not a great place to be. Yeah, it's not a great place to be. It reminds you going into the principal's office when you were in school. It was never a good thing.
Going back, was there anyone doing? We talked a little bit before about the social element, about people that had this laser focus.
Yeah.
Was there anyone that, in your time, did you ever see a change in football of being such and such is getting a little bit of help on the mental side?
Not through my playing career, no.
Right.
But I know now from listening to podcasts and having people around our club here that it's definitely becoming more important in the game, and I think it's really important for young kids because now with social media and all that stuff, you can have an effect on your mind, and you start to compare yourself to everybody else, and I think that's slippery slope to go down.
You mentioned there about the psychologist doing the two different contexts for the team and the individual. How do you balance that as you're playing every week, you're training every week, but then you're trying to produce elite level players to go to the first team? How do you get that balance right between individuals and team?
Yeah, I think it's a tough one. It's a tough one because you want to have a successful team, and I speak with the players, and I truly believe if you have a successful team, then you give yourself the best opportunity to be a successful individual, because it's a team sport, and that's the most important. But I think at the development phase for young kids, 14, 15, 16 years of age, they want to get better as individuals. So we try to focus on IDPs and stuff like that, to help the individuals in the areas that they need to improve, and hopefully if they improve as individuals, then I think that'll have a positive impact on the team as well.
The other piece of development that I find really, really interesting is this aspect of the physical. Some people are going to develop at different stages. So again, the solution is get them on the gym.
Yeah.
But then some people may not be ready for the gym. So as a midfielder who didn't rely on Gilberto Silva's physical qualities, what's your thought on those extras physically? Like or how do you judge someone that, like MLS and the style of play in MLS is extremely physical, high demanding?
Yeah, it is. I think with young players you've got to be really careful, because you don't want to not force the gym on them, but you don't want to put the gym on them too soon, because potentially you can open them up to injuries that can then hurt their development even more because they're not able to be on the field. For me as a young coach, a new coach, I tend to focus more on the technical side of things, and that's what I'd look for most in a player, because I think as kids develop, you can develop the physical side of things. I think it's much easier. My belief is it's much easier to develop the physical side of things as they get older, more so than the technical. I think the technical comes from repetition when we're young, and you can create that technique and enjoy having the ball at your feet, which is why we fall in love with the game. So I think that's really important. And I think over time, with strength and conditioning coaches and so on, and our athletic therapists, they get a gauge off who's ready for the gym and who's not ready for it, and then they can push them how they see fit.
You mentioned about going to Belgium, falling or getting back in love with the game. Do you remember what it was about the slog that took the love out of it? And then do you remember what it was that brought it back?
The slog was probably going from Scunthorpe to Boston United, and just the style of play that didn't really suit me. Me and the coach didn't really get along at the time. I was frequently called a five-a-side player because I wanted to pass the ball. So that was when that was happening quite often. It made me fall out of love with the game pretty quickly. And then I got the opportunity to go to Belgium, and just the style of play in Belgium, the way Warren Joyce wanted us to play the game at Antwerp, it helped me to find the spark again.
Very overlooked element of Manchester United's development as an old United fan was that Belgian pathway. And I was asking before if it was Warren Joyce, so I was excited.
Yeah.
What was it about his coaching? Like, were there elements of, people talk about the United standards, was there elements that you picked up? Yeah,
Warren was big on standards, big on turning up on the training ground every day. And when you were on the training ground, you had to push yourself to be the best you could be as an individual. And most of all, it was good. It was enjoyable football. He wanted us to enjoy having the ball. But within that, there was very high standards that you had to meet, and if you didn't meet them, it wouldn't be long about letting you know.
Yeah.
Which was great for us at the time, because me personally, I definitely needed that at that time.
The piece there you talked about Boston and Scunthorpe, about falling out of a manager. And again, something we're looking at now is like, okay, well, all these situations in football, how do we prepare for them, and how do we deal with falling out of a manager is pretty common today if you're going to get left out of a team.
Yeah.
Take out the playing time, because that's obviously that's happening all over the place, but take out a conversation. How would you advise young players now to try and build that rapport or build that relationship with their coach?
I think it works both ways. For the player and the coach, I think you've to get the best out of somebody. I think they have to feel as though you care about them, and once they feel that trust and that care, I think they're willing to work a little bit more for you. And that was something through my career. I've had it where I've not felt that from a coach, and then I've had it where I have felt that from a coach, and the difference for me personally has been night and day. So I think that's something for me now in the coaching side of things. I think it's important to relate to the player and try and build that trust with them.
Yeah. When did you realise that it's almost coming back full circle? that you have this up and down roller coaster of our career, and then you regain the love of it, and then you've obviously got the American experience as well to it. Some people at that stage are ready to be like, oh, here, when I get done with this, I just want to watch football for enjoyment.
Yeah.
You've kicked it on another level.
Yeah, I think we spoke earlier about school and stuff, and you know, for me, football was always what I wanted to do, playing wise, and then once I was in it and I played for a number of years, I don't know anything else, and I don't really want to know anything else. So I think coming to America, I always sort of had younger players in my position especially that I've tried to take under my wing and try and help them develop and try and help them build a career for themselves. So I think from when I was at Ottawa, I sort of realised that, yeah, coaching is probably what I want to do long term. And then, yeah, somehow we've ended up here.
What about the development in this? I mean, seeing and living that there in real life, that English model, which again, I've read so many books on it and podcasts I listen to every week. Being in the middle of that washing machine of development, and then this development of MLS, which is still in its early years, of, like we're talking about then the academic support and teams now, MLS teams that are building on school support, still in its growth. What do you think MLS, you know, any forum will tell you what they're doing wrong in player development over here? What do you think they've nailed?
What they've nailed, I think they've taken the level of what we were used to in the UK. The facilities over here are a level above for academy players. Now I think over time it's changed in the UK and back home, but from the start I think the level of facilities for young players within the MLS has been top class. Now within that, do they get too much too soon? I don't know, but I think the level of the game and the growth of the game is moving rapidly in America. So I think the academy structures are now moving rapidly with it, which is great. I think it all ties into helping young kids develop quicker.
In England, they've got almost a quality control with that EPPP. As granted, now it's a ton of paperwork that you've got to have in. But I guess where a US academy for life is an academy, are you almost free to or is there freedom or to move it, how and shape it how you want, more from the club standpoint?
I think so. I think a lot of clubs now are starting to see what other clubs do and take things from other clubs and try and do it your own way to try and help.
From other clubs, I'm sure.
It's part of the business, isn't it? Part of the industry. But like I said, I think there's so much growth every year within the academies now. You know, there's new academies. You're speaking about schools being on site for academy players now as well. I think the families will look towards that moving forward. And yeah, it's a business, and it's competitive business.
But you said before that too much too soon, and you know that kind of angle of development, which again, Liverpool's academy seems to be that they're capping cars, capping salaries. Yeah. It doesn't seem to be over here that it's the same money volume of like vastness of money that people can get at early age, guaranteed contracts.
I think the money is definitely different back in the UK for young players, which is a good thing for the American system, because I think young players get money too soon, then you may not know how to handle it and everything else that comes with it. And like I mentioned earlier on about social media, I think everybody's competing against each other via social media on trying to one-up each other basically, and I don't think that's great. But I think the money side of things, if we can keep tabs on that in America, then it's going to help to benefit the younger generation.
What did you take from your learnings at Tulsa as an assistant and be like take to here with a younger player?
Big learners for me personally was I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to be an assistant coach at the USL level from the coaching standpoint. I think I'd obviously played for a good number of years, but coaching is different. It's a whole different field, and I think at the end of the season in Tulsa it was a time where I needed to reflect and got the opportunity to come back to FC Cincinnati to work in the academy, which I felt was the best decision for me as a new coach to come back and learn how to be a coach. I spoke with the head coach from Tulsa from last year, and I said, we were laughing over a coffee, and I said to him, I was nowhere near ready. And his response was, maybe you weren't ready on the coaching side of things on the field, but communication wise and relating to the players and stuff, I felt as though I was okay in that area because I just retired from playing in the league. So I played against a lot of the players, and the players were familiar with me, so I felt as though they could relate to me. But on the field, I needed to learn a lot.
This is really interesting. Do you think that's more from a tactical point of view of like the 11v11, even run a training session, or was it the managing, sitting in a meeting and having science analysis and everything there? Was it the pitch or off the pitch?
Bit of everything, because there's so much that goes into coaching now. A big thing for me now, and I think I'm starting to develop it more now, is you the same way as I've spoken about repetition for kids with the football. I think for a coach you've got to have repetition on the field and just becoming comfortable running exercises, running sessions, and knowing what you're looking for from each exercise, and knowing the information and becoming comfortable stepping in and giving that information to the players. And over time I think you get better at that. It's the same as when you're a scholar and you're under 16 going into training, and you've got to learn in the academy first. You've got to learn how to be a player. You've got to learn how to be a coach as well.
Something you said to me just when we were grabbing a coffee there was about not taking risks, trying things as a coach, which I'm guessing it's harder with a senior player to go into that session. Everything's almost, if it stops or if you have to get your timings right, there's a pressure. But was that from an organisational standpoint, or was that from like, I'd just like to try an exercise that might not flow as easy as what it usually does? Yeah,
I think that's not the luxury, but that's the risk you can take with younger players. If something doesn't come off, if an exercise doesn't come off, or it doesn't bring out what you're hoping it'll bring out, I think it's okay. It's okay to get things wrong. Whereas I think at the professional level, you're probably being judged a lot more. So maybe you're a little bit more cautious of trying new things just in case it doesn't come off.
I think there's so much in that. Some people laugh about, we did the same thing every day with Coach X, but that's because Coach X, if he or she sticks their neck out and does something different, in a senior changing room, there's the level of judgment.
Yeah, it's big. Yeah, it's big, and you've got to be comfortable putting yourself out there to get something wrong. And at the end of the day, we all get things wrong. I think the players get things wrong on the field, coaches get things wrong on the training field and on game day as well. That's part of the process.
Development side, going back to Cincinnati, something that a lot of clubs now are trying, especially with Wrexham's documentary. We'll start a club, or we'll build a club and build a community around it and have success. And I was telling you before, I was in Cincinnati. I left Cincinnati in June 2014, and there's nothing here. And Dan McNally and I were in the offices at Cincinnati together, and now there's not just the physical, but there's a community here, and obviously the fan base is unbelievable, and the success on the pitch. Yeah. Having been there from the building blocks of those USL days, what do you think was in this thing that took a different level?
Yeah, Yeah, I don't know. There's a documentary on the club now as well,
Right.
on Apple TV. That's a great watch for anybody from the beginning to where it is now. I think the ownership from day one were all in on making it a success. And in the documentary they speak about, I think they had 13,500, 14,000 at the first game, and then they just built from there. Fortunately for me, I got the chance to come here and play in 2018, and I'd known a couple of ex-teammates had moved here to play for the team, so I'd kept an eye on them, and then we played against them in the Open Cup in 2017 with Miami, and they brought like 200 fans to Miami, and I was like, oh, that's impressive, because you don't normally see away fans travel in America. Obviously it was Miami as well, so I'm sure they made a few days of it.
Yeah.
But then I got the chance to sign with them at the end of that season, and it was a no-brainer for me, because by that time they were getting 25,000 fans, and to come to the club and just see, you're walking down the street, you're going out for dinner or whatever, people are wearing FC Cincinnati stuff, clothes, hats, everything, and it's just gone from strength to strength, and now training facility, stadium, success on the field for the first team. Academy's grown over the last 5-6 years. It's just, it's built a community, basically.
It's unbelievable.
Uh-huh.
It's actually unbelievable. And I went to a game this year. Dan kindly got me tickets this year. Went to a match.
Kindly got you tickets?
Kindly.
Oh, kindly.
I had to book them for them. And it's just an unbelievable experience, like the stadium and everything about it.
It is. The fan base do so much for the club, and the club do so much for the fan base. We had some friends over in the summer from home, and we took them down to Washington Park before the game, and the fans have a march from the park. I think it's like half a mile long or something. A march from the park to the stadium, drums, singing, chanting, smoke going off everywhere. It's quite the experience if you ever get a chance to do it.
Miami, you said Miami there, and I wanted to get and ask you about this before we wrap it up. Nesta, you've told me about Nesta's training.
Yeah.
Working with a manager like him, talk about that there.
He obviously you have a respect for him straight away, because of what he done as a player and what he won as a player. The level of player he was. I would have watched a lot of Italian football growing up. Back in Ireland, they used to be on Monday nights. You used to see all the highlights, and you see a couple of live games on the Sunday on Channel 4, I think it was. But yeah, the chance to go and work for him was unbelievable. He talked about standards that Warren Joyce had. Nesta's standards were a whole different level. Which in the first season at Miami, I think he found it tough, because we weren't quite able to reach the standards that he would have liked. 2017 we were much better, but on the training field, chaos. Just if he wasn't happy with something, you were getting it whether you liked it or not. But then as soon as the final whistle went in training, it was forgotten about. One of the most humble people I've ever met.
Wow. Considering
everything he's done in the game. Top coach.
Massive on their fitness, the Italians.
Yeah.
They?
Oh, yes, they are. Definitely. That was the fittest I've ever been.
Was it?
Yeah. Fittest I've ever been.
Loads of isolated running.
Oh, it was every day of pre-season, non-stop. There wasn't a football to be seen. It was like going back to England 20 years ago. Now there was a football to be seen, but we would do an exercise with the football. We'd stop. We'd do a run back into the football. More running. It was intense, and boys would be complaining about muscles feeling sore, and it was basically shut up and get on with it.
Yeah.
Or if you get an injury, you get an injury. Somebody else will take your position. So it was tough. All Nesta staff were Italian. So the strength and conditioning coach, Paolo Paccioni, he's Italian Canadian. He went on to work at he's just left Club America in Mexico. But Paolo was on you all the time, everything, in the gym, running non-stop. So it was tough, but honestly, like during the season we were so fit, we were just fitter than everybody else. And the football we were playing was, it was good football, but we were fitter than everybody else. They couldn't keep up with us. So yeah.
Or you've said in an interview then before about if you kind of learned the lesson later about focusing on the diet and doing all that. There, we had a quick chat before. If you could go back, all right, to the 16, 17-year-old, would you choose to, the sensible option, what I know now I'll put into action and I'll sacrifice, or the experiences that you had, that have obviously propelled you and built all these other experiences and character and all that, would you stick with what you learned and you lived?
The human side of me, yes, I'd stick with it. The professional side of me, I'd do it differently.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, because I think I hurt myself by not being a professional.
Too much socialising?
A little bit.
The diet wouldn't have been in?
The diet doesn't come with the socialising. Yeah.
For those young players, obviously it's a different set of social pieces today. When you have that 13, 14-year-old that is saying that they want to be a top player, is it the technique that you're saying has to be the first part, or is it the desire?
The technique is the first thing you see. I think with any young player, you gravitate toward. Well, I certainly gravitate towards a technical player.
Yeah.
It's hard to really say on the desire because you don't know until you get them consistently what the desire is, and then you can have an impact on that. I think by making sure they have good habits every day, and I think good habits, by meaning good habits, I mean you have a choice every day with how hard you work. And that's got nothing to do with technical ability. You have a choice whether you help your team every day. And I think if you make good choices in that respect, you give yourself the best chance.
What should I expect from a Richie Ryan academy session? Chaos?
Chaos. Hopefully intensity, the boys getting after each other. Because I think that's really important for them. I think it's really important for them to be competitive at a young age, because if you want to be in this industry, you've got to have that competitiveness, and especially for young kids, it's got to be every day, because when you move into the older age groups or second team or so on, you've got to fight against each other every day to make sure you're playing on the weekend.
Don't open up a new interview here. What if you don't have that in competitiveness? Like, what if you're just a little bit short in that department?
It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
I believe it'll be really tough for you. You may get by for a few years, but over time, the game is probably going to find you out.
Yeah, brilliant. Last one, in your experiences as a player, as a senior coach, and then as an academy coach, and you've got a generation of coaches that are ambitious and hungry to grow in the game, to work at the pro level at an academy or first team staff, and the life that goes along with that, what would you recommend, or what advice would you have?
Be all in. I think now I'm just starting to realise what it takes to be a coach. I went straight into coaching from retirement, and I wasn't ready. But I think over the last, the experiences I've had at Tulsa told me that I still wasn't ready, and that I needed to take a step back. And coming here has been the best decision for me, because It's allowed me to learn. It's allowed me to become more comfortable on the field. It's allowed me to be vulnerable, which I think is really important. We're not perfect, and we never will be. So I think it's okay to get things wrong, and if you get something wrong, you own it, you move on. And yeah, I'm surrounded by good people, so I'm very fortunate with the coaching staff that we have here, and we help each other try and learn all the time. And great academy director, just all around good club with good people, which is important. I think for any young coach or ambitious coach, big thing for me in my career was connect with people. I think it's the most important part, is to have conversations, ask questions, and be an open book.
The level of vulnerability that it takes to go and even you mentioned that Tulsa experience a couple of times about if I'm not ready. How did you, what was the process around reflecting that there? Was that a 2-3 week thing, or was that?
I think I sort of knew during the season, but you can't really see it during the season, can you? Yeah, I definitely felt uncomfortable at times, but that was okay. It was okay, and I speak with some of the players now that were at Tulsa, and they were like, "Oh, you were fine."
Yeah.
I wasn't fine. I could have been so much better.
But sorry to interrupt you on that. Then you could have got away with it then very easily.
I sort of did. Because I think I built a connection with them as people.
Yeah.
Probably spent more time playing tech ball in the changing room with them than being in the office. But that was also a way of me connecting with them and having fun with them, which I think is one of the most important things. Is you've still got to have fun. Whether you're 10, 12, 14 or 24 or 34, you've got to have fun going into this environment every day.
Brilliant. Richie, top class. Thank you
Gary,
so much.
Thanks very much for having
Fantastic.
me.
Thank you.
All right, coaches, I hope you enjoyed that. Massive thanks again to Richie for coming on and being brilliant throughout the day. Met me in the morning, had a couple of cups of coffee with him, watched the sessions, chatted all day, introduced me to people. Unbelievable visit. Really enjoyed it. One thing I learned in the difference between an in-person visit and doing a call with someone or a podcast interview on a webinar, it's great to do it in person because you can see the environment and you're exposed to different aspects of it and seeing them work. It also makes questions really tricky because you can plan for things, but then when you're sitting in front of someone and they're showing you their environment and you're meeting people and you're seeing the structure of the club and you kind of sense what's going on, your mind can go into different places. And I wanted to keep that interview on track in terms of player development and player support, and youth development and youth support, and Richie's journey and how they both combine. I would have loved to have gone into more about the methodology at the club and the sessions and the exercise design. But I'm going to work really hard at Modern Soccer Coach that every time we go somewhere, we want to stay on track with those themes. Now, if you have a theme that you want to look at, or you have a club that you would suggest going to and looking at that there, that maybe specialise in that or maybe do something a little bit differently, please feel free to email me, Gary@modernsoccercoach.com, and I'll definitely take a look. But I thought Richie was absolutely outstanding. And again, the humility stands out towards the end about taking his time as a player. Sometimes people think ex-players are in this rush and they're getting fast-tracked, but in speaking to a lot of people, that's not the case. It happens every now and again, of course, but I think it's important to look at what ex-players bring, professional players bring from their experiences. Most of them who are coaching in today's game came through a different form of development. The environments weren't the same. They probably weren't as good, but there was elements in those environments that were probably done wrong structurally today, but that worked. And I find that really interesting. And then the other side that I find interesting is if you were brought up in a different type of environment and made it, and now you're working in these professional environments with more resources and more information and more education, what would you change? And I think it's really interesting that Richie pointed out the psychologist aspect of it at FC Cincinnati. I thought that was really interesting. Also that individual feedback component that, again, seeing in the club and watching the sessions and seeing the kind of attention to detail that they are putting into that component of the game. was really, really interesting. So overall, a brilliant visit. Again, before we leave, please like, please subscribe, and a massive thank you to Richie. I really, really enjoyed the visit. I hope you enjoyed the insight, and looking forward to the next one. Thanks again.